What I'm going to be doing today is talking to you all about stress and isolation and anxiety. And I'm going to give you a couple of my definitions for what those things are. I'm going to actually flick across to some slides so that I can take you through a presentation, and then I'm going to come back and chat further to you. So I'm just going to share my screen now. And Darren, if you could let me know once that pops up, that would be awesome.
That's up.
Lovely. And I'm just going to move this across here and start a presentation. Beautiful. Starting, where are we? Play from the current slide. Okay, here we go. Can everybody see that? Just pop your hand up. Beautiful. Thank you, people. Okay, so just so everybody knows, you can move the little boxes around off to the side if it's blocking the view. But essentially, what I'm wanting to convey today is that I'm really passionate about teaching people how to use their minds differently. We have an incredible amount of capacity, but only if we actually use it. So I'm really passionate about getting people to use their minds for a more intentional, successful and fulfilled life. And more I'm seeing my clients suffering from greater anxiety, a real sense of isolation. I think we're all experiencing that. And also there is some depression creeping in. So my job is to help people navigate their way through that. So just so you know, this is general information about stress and anxiety management. It's not medical advice. And I highly recommend that if you are concerned about your mental or emotional health, please visit a medical professional to get some support on board. Really important that you take care of yourself that way. So the topic today is tools and strategies to manage stress, anxiety and isolation. And isn't it great? We are getting a bit of a green flag for being able to mix with a few more people. So I think that's probably let a little bit of steam out of the kettle, so to speak. I'm going to go through 10 tools or strategies. 7 free resources that are available to you at the end if you choose to get in touch with me. I'm going to give you 3 right now responses and ask if you're interested in a particular product of mine. And there is 2 shameless plugs in there. Please feel free to let me know if you see them. Anyway, so persistent stress and anxiety are a red flag. We really do need to be paying attention if we feel we are experiencing this, or if someone else that we know, love and trust also tells us that they feel that we're experiencing this. Sometimes when we're in a situation, it's actually pretty tricky to recognize it for ourselves because it's kind of become our new normal, and actually getting that feedback from someone whose opinion we actually trust is really important. So it is a red flag. And I have a couple of definitions for anxiety and one for depression here as well. Anxiety is the illusion of no control, and depression is the illusion of no choice. So I'm not sure whether you can resonate to either of those. When I first heard that, it took me a while to kind of mull it through and just see whether it felt actually real for me in my understanding, both in a clinical setting and also, you know, personally experiencing that in my life. And it really has held true for me over quite a number of years. So 10 strategies, 7 resources, 3 right now responses, and an offer. There's one of those shameless plugs. So we want our business to feel like this, right? Or we want to feel like this. Wouldn't that be beautiful? Hair blowing in the wind, you know, a sense of carefree. Look at that light. I mean, that's just stunning. So this is how we want to feel in our life, at least part of the time. And the trouble is that more often than not, this is what we're actually feeling. So, you know, I don't know about you, but I've had a number of days or, you know, moments in the last couple of months where I have definitely felt like this, juggling my life, juggling my family, juggling my business. And sometimes this is how we move forward. You know, this is what we have to sort of get to. And it's not a nice place to be. It lets off a lot of steam, but it's not a comfortable place to be. And then we might even resort to this. Darren, you were mentioning that shares have gone up in several of the large liquor stores around Australia. And yes, I mean, Doing this is something that most of us have done at least once or twice, but I do know that there is also a lot of this going on as people try to manage their emotions during this period. So emotions are something that I'm going to come back to time and time again as I go through this process, because actually they are what is driving the ship, whether we're whether we're consciously aware of our emotions or whether we're not. They are the sort of, you know, driving force for many of the decisions that we're making and many of the ways that we're feeling, obviously. So here we go, 10 strategies and tools. A lot of this is not rocket science. You would have heard it before. I'm just going to underline those things that I know you can do right now that won't cost you any money and that are actually available to you. So use your body. Why is this so important? It's really important for a couple of reasons. The first reason is that we know that shifting and moving our body helps us to get rid of our emotions, or actually we process those emotions through our physical movement. And you can think of exercise as a form of mindfulness, meditation, mindfulness in action, right? Emotion stands for energy in motion. And if we're using our body, we're actually processing those emotions through our system. Excuse me. From a neurological standpoint, from a brain chemistry standpoint, we're also, because we're exercising, increasing those positive neurochemicals, so the serotonins and the dopamines. We get a nice hit of those really positive hormones, and that helps us to change our state and our emotions. But as we move through, we're also depleting the negative neurochemicals, which is the adrenaline and the cortisol. And those two are the ones that are actually helping to drive our anxiety and our upset, because they have a fight or flight responsibility within our nervous system, and they are going to push us to be feeling more extreme emotions. Use your body, get outdoors, hydrate, make sure that you're drinking lots of water, make sure that your food is really good for you and is actually helping you to build your immune system, especially at this time. Supplement if you believe in supplementation, and build yourself as well. So I know a lot of people had these great big plans to become the next, you know, Kathy Freeman or Usain Bolt after this isolation period. But building doesn't have to be that extreme, and it certainly doesn't have to be something that you do that actually creates damage. So be really smart about what it is that you choose to do. Psychosensory tools. This is an area that I've been working in for over 20 years in my practice, and it's a way of using consciousness of our feeling body, so what we're feeling in our body and what's actually going on in our mind, and the tools actually connect those two things. So the tool that I have been using for a really long time is called tapping. I'm not sure if anybody has actually heard about that, but one of the things that's in the resources that I can send out to you is a brand new paper that's come out from Bond University. And it's from a psychologist called Dr. Peter Stapleton, and she is one of the foremost researchers in Australia. She's done some incredible work in relation to brain scans and how the brain actually changes when we're using specific tools. And in the case of tapping, you are reducing your stress. This is measured through blood tests. You're reducing your stress by 43% with 1 hour of guided tapping in a group situation. Now, no drug is going to give you that same effect unless you're unconscious. And this is something that you can learn to do for yourself and is sustainable through time as long as you keep implementing. So I will be sending out that research to people who are interested. This is the third strategy. Map out your day, your week, and your environment. And why is this? When we do this, we're actually setting up a psychological safety framework. Our brain is always pushing to know what's coming next. And if you don't give it to it, it will make it up. So if we have some psychological frameworks in place, like a plan for how we're going to move through our day, our week, and plans around our environment, and I'll touch on that in just a moment, we're actually driving the ship of our thinking. And we are actually determining to some extent, as much as possible, the way that our thoughts and our emotions will travel, because we've given our brain a destination. So structures and frameworks within our day, our week, and our environment help us to create a sense of safety. And in this instance, action cures fear. So taking action in some way, feeling as though you're in control, feeling as though you're the one that's actually creating your life, is a way for you to decrease stress and anxiety, and also that sense of isolation, because often these safety structures and frameworks mean that we're connecting with other people to get stuff done. So we're actually creating some connections there. Habits are another way that you can work to change the way that you're thinking and feeling, and that is by putting a lot of these strategies in place and actually making them a part of your regular routine so that they become habits. Why habits so important? Habits are so important because once they become automatic, we actually don't even need to think about them. And anything that we don't need to think about, our brain actually loves, because it doesn't take energy away from the things that we do want to be focused on, the things that we do want to be thinking about. And if you think about taking jobs off yourself and either handing them across to someone else, how good that feels. So habits are a very powerful way of creating that. And then zoning inside the home. A lot of people, whether they're living on their own or they're living amongst other people at this time, I'm seeing a lot of people kind of doing their work on the couch, and then they move to the bed and do some work, and then they might, shift to another chair in the lounge room, or then they might go and sit at a desk or the dining table. I really encourage you to determine where your working space is, because again, this is about creating structures and frameworks. It's about helping our brain to understand what is going on. If you sit at the same place every day, if you have your things around you that, symbolize work, your laptop or your phone or whatever it is that you work with, then you're going to be sending a signal to the brain, switching on now, this is where we're working. And also equally that applies for zoning places where you connect with other people. So, the couch might always be the place that you connect with your family, or you make your phone calls, or you sit with your laptop and do Zoom calls with other people that are socially related rather than work related. So zoning, very, very important part of taking care of anxiety and stress. Fourth one is smarten up. Now is the time. We have had a lot of time to actually be able to increase our skills and take something on that maybe previously we hadn't had the time for. If you think about the fact that many of us are not traveling to our work now, and you take out that travel time, specifically for where I'm living, which is in the southeastern suburbs of Melbourne, some phenomenal percentage of people, like, 75% or something, are actually traveling an hour and a half into the city each day. So that's 3 hours of time that some people have gained to actually do something that really fills them up. So I'm not talking about, a brain drain, taking on a master's or something like that. I'm talking about stuff that's also really fun. So you smile there, Stacey. I'm talking about stuff that's also really fun. Smarten up in areas that really light you up. Maybe you want to become a Canva expert because you've got that creative thing going on. So now is the time, and I really encourage you to do that, to let off some steam. Utilizing your memories. This is another favorite area that I love talking about. We have a whole library in our head. Now, some aspects of that library are full of stuff that, maybe we don't want to look at. But there is also, for most of us, for many of us, memories that we don't go back to that can actually facilitate us feeling well. And those memories are the ones that are associated with people that we love, with places that we've been, with things that we've done in our life previous to this experience. And when we utilize our memories, when we go into those memories, when we really spend time in those memories, what we're doing is creating an emotional shift. I'll give you an example of this. When I was 19, maybe a little touch older, maybe 20, I traveled right throughout Southeast Asia. And I have one memory that I've used my entire life to actually help anchor me and ground me back into my body when things are feeling pretty stressful. And that is, I was in Thailand. I was sitting on the edge of the ocean on a really large rock. I was looking out into the sea and watching the fishing boats come in. It was a beautiful sunny day. I could hear the waves lapping up on the sand. I was warm, I was comfortable, and I felt free. And that memory really, really helps me to feel and move through any other emotion that I might be experiencing. So I encourage you to mine through your memories. Find, say, 5, even 1 is enough. And when you are, say, feeling a negative emotion or emotion that's not helpful for you, reach for that memory. Really allow yourself to experience it as though it was happening right now, and it will help you to shift through. Using your senses, we're all the way up to number 6 already. Using your senses. I just talked about one, that visual image of me sitting on the rock in Thailand. And, you know, the other way we can use our senses is through the use of music. There is a lot of research out there now about the incredible therapeutic effect that music can have on our lives. And I don't know about you, but my husband is actually, he uses music to map out times in his life, periods in his life, and he'll hear a song and he will be transported back to that period in his life, and then we'll hear the story, sometimes for the 20th time. But anyway, so music is a really powerful way. Or if you prefer, storytelling is also another really powerful way. So audiobooks, you know, think about the way that you like to learn. Think about the way that you can change your state most quickly, and find out which of your senses actually allow you to do that. Taste is another one. Sometimes, you know, you always hear the story of mum's apple pie, or I'm not endorsing that you go out and buy 27 apple pies, by the way, people. I know most of us have been carb loading. Hands up for that one. So think about experiences though. This is another way for you to think about experiences that can shift the way you're feeling. And smell. Who has walked down the road past a cafe? You know, for me, it's always Asian restaurants, and the smell of the curry or whatever it is wafts out. And again, you are transported back to a time in your life with all of these fabulous memories. So think about how you can engage your senses, your visual, auditory, kinesthetic, taste and olfactory senses to help you shift through some of the negative emotions you're feeling. Breathing. We all do this, but do we do it well? There is an increasing amount of research that actually, you know, transcends Western medicine and goes all the way back into our shamanic history and traditional Chinese medicines from all over the world, that show how breathing is so profound in terms of shifting our state. And I want to give you, say, a Western medical perspective on this, and then talk about a little bit of what happens in our neurology. So when we're anxious, we shallow breathe. We hold our chest really tightly, our shoulders are usually scrunched, and we're taking these little tiny breaths. But when we're relaxed, we tend to take bigger, deeper breaths. We tend to actually yawn a little bit more as our body relaxes down. So breathing is a very powerful way to calm our entire system. So if you're feeling anxious, I highly recommend that you do a little breathing exercise. And that breathing exercise is taking in a breath for 3 counts, holding for 3, releasing for 3, and then do that to the count of 5 and the count of 7. And you can circle back around if you want to. And what you're doing when you do this is you are actually changing your brain chemistry, because the body sends a message to the mind and the mind sends a message to the body. Oh, we're getting enough oxygen, and we're usually calm when we're getting enough oxygen. So maybe I can tamper down those adrenaline and cortisol hormones, and maybe we can just actually relax a little bit. So you can hack your brain chemistry with many of these very, very simple tools, and breathing is an extremely powerful way to do this. Do it safely, people. Make sure you're sitting down, you're not crossing the road, you know, be really mindful when you're doing this one as well. Number 8, choose your poison and unsubscribe. I don't know about you, but I have done the most massive clean out of crap apps. That's what I'm calling them. And I'm calling them crap apps, not because they're crap, but because what they're adding to my life is not meaningful, right? They're not helping me to feel more connected to myself. They're not helping me be a better business owner, partner, parent. They're distractions, or they're just junk, right? And if we think about what our brain likes and needs at this time, it doesn't need junk. So think very carefully about what you're actually putting inside of you. One of the things about stress and anxiety and the brain is that the brain doesn't actually know what is real and what is not. And I'll give you some proof of this. When we go to a scary movie, we feel scared. We know that the movie's not real, that we're in a cinema and that we're safe, but our brain is still functioning as though this is happening to us right here and right now. If we go to a movie that makes us cry, we cry. And it's because our brain believes that this is a sad situation, even though we're safe in a cinema, no one's died, we're doing okay. So this is the other thing. What are you actually feeding your brain that's going to help you feel calmer, more relaxed, more in control, and moving forward in your life? Choose your poison. Number 9, what am I learning about me? So many of my clients talk about the fact that what they're discovering about themselves during this period of time when they're under extreme sorts of pressure, and this is particularly the extroverts amongst us who I believe are struggling far more with this experience. They are used to having other people, other situations. They're used to the dynamic exchange and interchange of energy, and actually they are more impacted by this isolation than the introverts, who quite love their own company and don't need a lot of things going on around them. So a lot of people that I'm dealing with in terms of my clients are really discovering things about themselves that they didn't really know. And I tend to focus on the strengths, because there's so much strength underneath the ways that we are managing this situation. And I want you to really think about how you can be super proud of yourself in the way that you're managing yourself at the moment, and focus on the positive. Number 10, laying your foundations now. What I mean by that is we are going to be let out one day. Who knows when and who knows to what extent. And, I'm going to be dancing around the kitchen, I can tell you that for sure. But now is the time for you to really take a deep look at what is it that life wants you. Start again. What is it that you want your life to look like on the other side of this experience? We do have an opportunity now to really change so much about our lives, our relationships, etc., etc. And laying your foundations now, getting yourself ready and prepared for what can happen out the other side. This is the time to do that, if at all possible for you. So 3 things to do right now, and I'm going to come to the 7 resources in a minute, but 3 things to do right now. Breathing, focusing on a positive memory or achievement, connect with other people and celebrate your achievements. And the bonus is experiencing gratitude, finding those things that you can be grateful for. It can be the smallest thing. For some of my clients, it's literally that they can be grateful for having a really good cup of coffee this morning. Like, sometimes it just hits the spot, and that's kind of what they're hanging the rest of their day on. So people are finding the smallest ways to really switch and change the way that they're experiencing life at the moment. And I encourage you to do the same. What could you focus on that actually helps you to shift your anxiety or your stress during this period? So a little bit more information. I'm aware of the time. We're going to move through this pretty quickly. Processing your emotions. Use the tips and the things that you've written down that are meaningful for you to help you process your emotions. Things that people are asking me about are procrastination, goal setting, support for the kids, and what to do when the going gets really tough. And I'm going to quickly move through that. It always comes back to your emotions and managing those emotions in the most powerful and positive way that you possibly can. So we want to say no to procrastination. Procrastination. This is a term that I have coined. It's very clunky and ordinary. I do apologize, but it was kind of a way for me to make a little bit of a joke about this. We need to have emotional congruence to move through those things in our day that, can be a little bit tricky. So even tricky things are easier to do when we're emotionally congruent with why we want to do them and what is going to come out the other end of it. So to avoid procrastination, make sure that what you're moving towards has got an outcome at the other end or a feeling at the other end of the task that really helps you to feel good about yourself. There are 4 anchors of procrastination. This comes from one of my coaching, one of the foundations that I use for my coaching. And they are that goals are too high or too low, that we have an unclear focus, that we don't have an action plan, and that we have those emotional or mental barriers. And I'm going to take you through just a little bit of information. So setting appropriate goals, being realistic about your time frame. Now more than ever, we have to be kind to ourselves. And so I just want you to think, sometimes those stretch targets need to be stretched just a little bit more to give yourself the space that you need to really manage what's sort of happening given our situation at the moment. Make sure that congruence is front and center, and choose goals that actually have instant benefits. What do I mean by that? You are connecting with positivity when you are putting goals in that are emotionally congruent, but that also when you've done those little tasks that need to move you towards the success in that goal, you're able to feel really good about yourself. So anything that gives you that sort of instantaneous emotional little positivity, try and incorporate those into what you're doing. Get clear on your focus. As I said before, now is the time to lay the foundations. What do you want? Why do you actually want it? That's the Simon Sinek question. Why do you actually want these things in your life? How will you get there? And who can assist you? This is a big part of what I do is actually, and I know Yvette does this too, really assisting people to find out who it is they need to keep shifting forward in their life. When am I starting? Creating an action plan. Where am I going? How will I get there? And again, who can assist me? Action plans are amazing if you know where you're going, because then you're going to put actions in place that actually direct you towards the success. Goal setting is a massive, massive, massive topic. We do not have time to go into it today, but one thing I want to just reiterate again, your goal must have a powerful emotional significance. You need to be just on the edge of difficult. By that, that's 4% more difficult than anything you've done before, because it creates excitement and it also creates novelty, and our brain does love novelty, but it's not so difficult that you don't believe that you can get there. Okay, so again, back to emotions. It's always about them. Supporting kids. I did say I was going to mention children today because I think it's really important. Just because they're in little bodies does not mean that they're not experiencing the same kinds of stress that we are going through. So all of the things that I've mentioned work just as well with children. Set up their day in the same way I said for you to frame your day and set up that psychological safety in your day. Set that up for children as well, so that they know what they're going to be doing when. I know for many of them, they're at school, they're doing those things, but even those times outside of school, it's great for them to feel as though, it's playtime now, and I'm going to be playing with myself, my brother, my sister, whatever, for the next, hour and a half, and then there might be some dinner, and then there might, whatever it is, okay? Just helping them to feel like, even though the world out there has gone pretty crazy, where they are can be a safe and lovely place for them to be, that they understand. Also, make sure you're thanking your kids for the grace that they are giving you. It's a little bit easier for us as adults to rationalize where we're at the moment. It's very difficult for children to understand this chaos that's actually occurring. So we are asking a lot of them at this time. Make sure you thank your children, if you do have children, for the efforts that they are making to be, lovely little people and letting you get done what you need to get done. Set them up for success, make sure that they are achieving, dwell on what they have achieved during the day, dwell on what could make things better, have those conversations, acknowledge their wins and ask them how they feel that they could improve if things haven't gone quite the way that they think. And there is a great resource that I have in the resources that I can send out. These are some of the resources I'm going to send to you. And it's the research from Dr. Peter Stapleton, some stuff about myself, some research about moving your body. The Big Life Journal and Switched On Kids is for kids specifically, but hey, there's some colouring in there and I kind of like that. So a couple of Facebook sites that I have found to really shift my emotional state. The first one is called The Kindness Pandemic. And the second one is called Terrible Art from Charity Shops. And if you go on there and you join up, have a look. I'm in there doing something, one of the craziest things I've ever done in my life. But I did it because it made me laugh, it made me happy, and it kept me like giggling for about 5 hours yesterday. So find things that really positively shift your state and move yourself away from the doom and gloom. I want to really underline that we all experience mental and emotional challenges. So if there's something that you're going through, you are not alone. It's really important that you bring in whatever resources and support that you possibly can. And you are not the only person going through this. Please reach out for help. If you need to do that, these are resources from within Australia. But when the going does get tough, please reach out, take action and talk about it with someone. There's some numbers there, Lifeline, the 1-800-RESPECT number, which is specifically for people suffering from domestic or sexual violence, Beyond Blue, and many of our psychological services now are covered through government subsidisation, and you can speak to these people on the phone, and of course whoever your regular GP is. So I just want to tell you a little bit now about a program that I'm running. It goes over 90 days. It has 12 modules. It has been very, very heavily subsidised by Life in Balance Careers so that I can deliver it at an incredible price. Each session basically comes in at under $50. Normally, if you're working with me, I haven't seen $50 for a session in about 20 years. So this is really a way for you to get access to some resources, be involved in a group, because this is online group training delivered by myself live every week for 90 days. And you can see there some of the modules. Emotional management is right down the bottom. There's also mind mastery, handling stress, achieving a balanced life, and so on and so forth. So I will include that information in the resources if you choose to get in touch with me. That is starting next week. So if you're wanting or you're interested in finding out about more, please let me know. Okay, so that is the end of my sort of formal presentation. And I'm just going to stop sharing now. And I think if there's any questions, stopping our share, here we are, we're back. If there's any questions,